Good morning, friends. I wanted to hop on and just share a little behind the scenes of my business. I get a lot of questions, and with 2026 starting, this will be my ninth year in business, and there's some really exciting things coming. So I just kind of wanted to give a little backstory. I don't show my face a lot just simply because I'm not a big social media person. I don't love the short form videos, looking for the trends, doing all the fun videos. I like to watch them, but I don't love creating them. So here on YouTube is where I feel more comfortable making the long form videos, teaching, sharing educational videos. That's what I enjoy. But I do want to share some behind the scenes of my business because in 2026 there's some really exciting things coming. I've always considered my business a very small mini business. But I hit some really big goals last year that I wasn't anticipating, and I'm excited to be able to grow Simply Lettered this coming year with some really fun projects. So for those of you that are new here, my name is Cheyenne, and I went to school for education. I have a dual bachelor's degree in early childhood and elementary education. I'm pretty passionate about teaching, and when I had my first child, I left the education world to stay home, and that is where my business was born. I kind of needed something outside of the everyday dishes and, just everyday mom life. So it was in Christmas of 2016, I asked for a set of brush calligraphy markers. And from there, I just loved it. I've always been interested in handwriting, creating my own fonts. My husband would always laugh because I would write in a different style every time I got out a pen. And so I developed this love for lettering. I didn't know a lot about it, but I felt like I was pretty good about it. And I started an Etsy shop in 2017, which is crazy. I didn't really think it would go anywhere, kind of just give me something to do and get started. At the time I lived in Oklahoma, so I started my Etsy shop and I started getting into craft fairs. At that time I kind of took, the low-hanging fruit that is right there available, everyone's asking for. I loved the stationery, the greeting cards. That's what I thought I was going to be doing, but it turns out that the farmhouse wooden signs, the ones, the wood frame, white background, black lettering, were so popular at that time. Maybe they're still popular, but I was burnt out of them because I made so many. So I started making wooden signs. I made them from hand because I'm also familiar with woodworking. My husband teaches woodworking, and a fun fact, we actually met in woodworking class in high school. So I made my own wooden signs and then painted them and hand lettered them. And I think I charged like $40 for these signs, and I was so proud of myself, which I'm still so proud of myself. But looking back, I probably should have charged around like $300 for these signs because I was, cutting, sanding, painting, and then hand lettering custom quotes on every single one. So I started with that, and then I tried all the things. I was putting my lettering on dish towels, hats, bags, pillows, anything anyone wanted written on, I was your girl. Like, I was there, I was doing craft fairs, I was doing all the things. And then I kind of started learning about the things I didn't know. I didn't really know that much about calligraphy or how to improve it. I just was self-taught. So I started really studying calligraphy, pointed pen calligraphy, and the historical calligraphy like I had intended to learn, but just I didn't know what I didn't know. So I started studying that and making a little bit of a shift. And then in 2019, I had my second pregnancy, which was triplets. All is well, but it was a crazy year. And so I stepped back. And then obviously for the following year, I stepped back as we were raising our babies. And so at that point I had 4 little boys. So I took a pretty, a solid year break. And then we also moved from Oklahoma back to Utah at that time. once we moved back, I started teaching calligraphy classes, which was something I really enjoyed. I thought maybe that's where I would, really find a passion, which I did, but I also live in a place where I have to travel a lot to really reach an audience. And so it was hard finding venues and that sort of thing. I started researching experiential marketing and live events, and I also got into engraving for that year of 2020. So a lot of people would ask me for calligraphy on glass, and I didn't know how to make it permanent. So that's where engraving came along, and I started practicing and feeling comfortable with engraving, and started doing perfumes. I believe that first perfume I did was the end of 2020. And then I also started doing live events. I drove clear to Denver for my first live event. I thought that maybe if I traveled, that would help me get into the live event scene. Looking back, I didn't need to do that, but it was a good experience. And I started doing live events for free, just to start marketing myself. I did a lot of traveling. I still do a lot of traveling, but I've been able to carve a market out for myself where I feel comfortable with the rate I charge and making my travel time worth it. So I worked on that for that time period. In 2023, I wanted to start kind of something new. Instead of teaching in person, I thought, well, if I can teach maybe online or sending kits through the mail. And I tried a subscription box for a while, which was so fun, but extremely exhausting. It was a monthly subscription, and I didn't have time to box up 1 month and market the next month. I was always behind. I could never get ahead, and so I could never help it grow like I think it could have. I think it could have been great, but month-to-month subscription box was really hard. So I ended up closing the subscription box out, and I wanted to kind of up my credentials a little bit. I became certified in American Cursive, and I hired an assistant that year. And then I started building the Cursive Connection. So once I left the education world, I said my first son was born. I homeschool my children. They go to a charter school, and then I homeschool. It's kind of like a half and half blended program. So I'm really familiar with the education world, with the homeschool world, and I knew that there was a need for handwriting education. So I started developing the Cursive Connection. I kind of filmed it, built the box, did a little bit of a soft launch, didn't do a ton of marketing, just started to get it out there. I was building my online store with some other products, and I was skeptical because I put a lot of work into it, and it's really hard to take that risk. But in 2025, I really put myself out there. Even though you might not see me in social media, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. In 2025, I was able to send the Cursive Connection program out to over 100 students through a lot of charter schools and homeschools and private school opportunities. And with that, I've had so many requests for handwriting programs for other grades, additional resources, and all of you guys are asking for more and more and more resources. So like I said, I do a lot of traveling. It takes me 3 hours to get to my event. So I do a lot of driving and a lot of thinking. And an idea has been brewing in my head that I'm excited to bring to life this year. I don't want to share all the details quite yet because I'm in the process of doing all the things, and there's a lot of things to work out. I'm still doing custom commissions. I'm still doing events. I just don't share about them. It takes the joy away from creating when I am making a piece and I have to stop and film and edit, and I just don't share about them. It takes the joy away from me. So for me, I don't share those short form videos. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I do want to share a little more behind the scenes this year of growing the Cursive Connection and our handwriting program. And I'd love your input. Let me know if you are a student, if you're looking for cursive and print resources, which will be coming in 2026. And I will give you a little sneak peek. This was my idea that came to me during an event. So I always have my white sticky notes because that's how I take my orders. And here, I'll just give you a quick little peek. This is the vision of a really big project that I'm working on. So I'm excited to bring it to life. I came home, I was so excited. I came home and over Christmas break, I kind of mapped it all out. I don't know if I should show this to you. I might have to block it out. But I have a full layout of all the things, and I'm excited to bring you new resources in 2026. So comment below. I'd love to hear if you're a small business owner, if you're a student, how long you've been following, what stage you came to in Simply Lettered, and I'm excited to just bring you more resources and have the funds, the resources to be able to do that and to grow my small business. So thanks for being here. Thanks for following along. And I'm excited to share more this year. So I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.